Thanks for tuning in. Ham Talk Live will be on the air shortly. Please stand by. Thanks for tuning in. Ham Talk Live will be on the air shortly. Please stand by. This episode of Ham Talk Live is brought to you by Tower Electronics. For connectors, cables, and more, call 920-435-2973 or visit pl-259.com. And by ICOM. Heard it, worked it, logged it. Visit www.icomamerica.com/amateur for more information about ICOM radios.
It's Ham Radio.
Good evening, everyone. It's National Burrito Day, and it's Ham Talk Live. It's episode number 159. EmComm-1, recorded live on Thursday, April 4th, 2019. I'm your host, Neil Rapp, WB9VPG. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Ham Talk Live. Tonight, we're joined by Emmett Hohensee, W0QH, and we will take your calls live in just a few minutes. Last week, Corey Shields, KB9JHU, was here to talk about the new SatNogs dashboard. And if you missed that show, you can listen anytime at hamtalklive.com or on your favorite podcast app or on YouTube. You can also catch us on the rebroadcast on WTWW, that's 5085 AM, Saturday evenings at or about 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So we're going to talk a little EmComm tonight and about EmComm-1. So get those questions ready to go. If you're listening to us tonight live, which it's Thursday night, you can give us a call after the interview. And again, the temporary phone number we're using right now is 812-650-9556. We'll give that out again here in a minute. So you can write that down and have it ready to go when we get to the call-in segment of the show later on this evening. But again, we're using the temporary number again tonight. But if you're listening to us live on Thursday night, you can give us a call or you can tweet us on Twitter. Is just look for Ham Talk Live and put Ham Talk Live in the message, and we'll get that and check those. And again, the phone number 812-650-9556 is the number you can use to call when we get to that part of the show. So I'll be back with Emmett, and we'll talk a little bit first right after this word from Tower Electronics right here on Ham Talk Live.
Hey, honey, have you seen the PL259s anywhere?
No, I haven't. Come on, kids. Let's go.
There's just one place to go for all of your connector needs.
Tower Electronics.
Tower Electronics.
Tower Electronics.
A giant warehouse of connectors and adapters for every occasion. Thousands to choose from in every shape, size, and color. And they have antennas, soldering supplies, cables, meters, and more. Where do you go if you want to buy a connector at a fraction of retail cost?
Tower Electronics.
Tower Electronics.
Tower Electronics.
And this weekend only, take advantage of our special liquidation sale. Buy 9 solder-type PL259s, get the 10th one for just 1 penny. They make great Christmas presents. And what better way to say I love you than with the gift of a PL259?
Tower Electronics.
Tower Electronics.
Tower Electronics.
Hi, I'm Scott Cole, KB9AMM, president of Tower Electronics. I like the company so much that I bought it.
Tower Electronics, coming to a Hamfest near you or online at pl-259.com. And we're in the yellow pages under Amateur Radio Connectors.
My, wherever did you get that lovely PL259?
Tower Electronics, pl-259.com or call 920-435-2973.
Do we sell PL259 connectors?
A flashlight is a case for holding dead batteries. Now, here's Neil Rapp with more Ham Talk Live.
Thanks as always to Scott and Jill at Tower Electronics for sponsoring the show tonight. They'll be at Belton, Texas this weekend, April 6th. And then on April 13th, they'll be in Mobile, Alabama and Staunton, Wisconsin. Or you can visit them anytime at all. It's pl-259.com. Well, our friend Emmett is back with us, W0QH. He's the chief engineer at Radio Waves in the St. Louis, Missouri metro area. He designs and builds custom antennas for both amateur and commercial radio use. He's been on several ham radio podcasts teaching about antennas, and he's here tonight as the custodian of EmComm-1, an inter-operable communications van sponsored by ICOM America. And full disclosure, ICOM is a sponsor of the show. Emmett's company, Radio Waves, is also a proud co-sponsor of the Amateur Radio Newsline Young Ham of the Year Award, and you can visit Radio Waves online at radiowaveswithaz.com. So, Emmett, welcome back, and we're glad to hear Rochelle's on the mend.
Yes, thank you, Neil, and it's good to be back again, and good to hear your dulcet tones over the radio. Rochelle is definitely coming back, which is good. Many people didn't know this, but she recently underwent a quadruple bypass several months ago, and so she's not 100% yet as far as being able to go out to all the shows, so she's not going to be able to do Dayton this year. She has done a couple smaller venues with me just to, I guess, gear up and exercise herself, but she's doing better every day, and that's an encouraging thing.
Well, we're very thankful to hear that, and wish her a good and speedy recovery, and hope to see her back at Dayton and some of these bigger places before too long. Well, you've had EmComm-1 for a while now, and you've been out on tour with it, so some of our listeners may have seen it actually at a Hamfest or two. So let's just talk a little bit about exactly what it is and why it's been put together this way.
Well, EmComm-1 was originally the idea of Mike Lee down in Florida, where he designed the basic concept, and then of course I got a little bit involved over time. But EmComm-1 is an emergency communications vehicle that's equipped with state-of-the-art ICOM communications equipment. It's a mobile communications van that includes ICOM interoperability products that enables communication between a myriad of radios. That's anything from Yaesu, Kenwood, Motorola, Harris, which we have all on board. The idea is that we are not, the van itself is not designed to have a whole bunch of operators in there, but what we're able to do is create a platform that, let's say the local police department can talk to the State Highway Patrol, that can talk to FEMA, that can talk to the Coast Guard, that can talk to all these different agencies or people that might be involved in a disaster, all on one platform. They don't have to change their equipment. We're able to, let's say, based on what they allow us to do with them, use one of the channels on their radio, and we can tie those individual frequencies and channels together to create, let's just say, a great big switchboard. And we're able to The sheriff can talk to the highway patrol on channel 3 on his radio, and the highway patrol can talk to the sheriff on whatever frequency we deem is appropriate for the highway patrol. And then, of course, if the Coast Guard is out there, let's say doing river patrol or along the lake or along the oceans, it depends on where we are. We can communicate with them as well, and then they can also communicate with air assets and so on. So what it does is it creates this really good flexible platform for multiple agencies to communicate when they need to. And then, of course, if there's another emergency where we just don't have a lot of communications, EmComm-1's capable of filling in that role as well. But of course, we don't have a lot of operators in the van. We can remote all the operators, let's say, into a classroom or into a tent or wherever, and not have to mess with, bringing in the RV and all the other stuff.
So you've got all the equipment on board, and you can just, come in on one band and go out on a different band and mode, so that you can get all these different agencies talking to each other. Yes.
As a matter of fact, the whole idea is that we're a portable platform that allows, let's say we have an event or an emergency or something. For instance, one of the best examples is Hurricane Matthew back in November 2016, where EmComm-1 was used to, for emergency communications for, let's say the Department of Natural Resources, the State Highway Patrol, the local sheriff, and let's say the emergency services like fire and ambulance and so on. And what basically happens is we're able to take, let's say, your 800 megahertz trunk system and tie into that. So that way the sheriff can communicate with other let's say the local police department or whatever. Now this doesn't happen really quick. When I say really quick, it's within minutes, providing that we have the clearances and all that from the agency that needs our assistance. We're able to get into that area, set up, and create that platform to allow all these different agencies to work with each other. We're also able to set up in that van, which is kind of neat. We've got a P25 2-meter, effectively a VHF or 2-meter type P25 repeater system on there that we can crank up on top of a 30-foot tower that's attached to the back of the van. We also generally roll with several 440 type repeaters that in a closet full of cans, so that we can change out based on the client's needs at that time. So we can either set up a 440 amateur repeater. We can also set up a P25 440 repeater system for the local sheriff department based on whatever the frequencies are. So we could actually replace one of their repeater systems or extend their ability to talk at a farther distance.
And in some of these interoperable systems that are permanent, it's that whole, as we like to say in ham radio, when all else fails. Mm-hmm. One of the towers goes down, and now all of a sudden that interoperable system that they've relied on all the time doesn't work anymore. And so now you're pulling out the old analog stuff, and there's no repeaters. There's nothing there. And so you can come in and set up something temporarily until things get back in order.
Well, the van itself is set up the way we design it. We've got crews of 3. Initially, we roll with a crew of 3, and then a 3-person relief crew, so we can, cycle ourselves through. There's generally only one person awake at any given time, or basically on duty at any given time, but we do overlap. In other words, we cover 24 hours if needed, and we got 3 people that we basically rotate our schedules to make that happen. I'm trying to remember where I was going with this discussion. What happens is we have the ability which it's already been exercised a couple times, where the EmComm-1 is on a Mercedes frame. It's a diesel. We're capable of being transported by either C-130 or C-5A, which it's happened before. We have a 20 kilowatt generator that we can typically tow along with us, and if you go to Dayton, you'll see it there. And we have enough fuel online to where we can run at least anywhere between 3 to 7 days unsupported, meaning we don't need other people coming in and giving us food and fuel and all that. We can basically be the tip of the spear, which at times that's what a lot of people need. Then, it gives them the time they need to get their big resources like the big communications vans and all that. And quite often we find that the van itself needs to stay because we have that ability to go, let's say, from a Harris radio system to, or let's say a Harris EDAX to a Motorola P25 or whatever. And then we can also talk to the National Guard on an HF radio that is encrypted, and so on and so forth. And then also we've got search and rescue people out there that are all running with their FRSs. And we have that ability to be able to communicate with all of them. We have the ability to give, let's say, the incident commander one radio. It looks like a little HT, like a ID51. That's what it looks like. But it's an IP-based radio. And based on what his requirements are, we can configure his HT to be able to either communicate with all the radios, some of the radios, or whatever. In other words, he'll be able to select what channel he wants to talk on so he can control or even monitor. Let's say he needs to find out what's going on in the air, so he can switch over to the air channel and he can listen to whatever air traffic is going on in the area. And the same thing, we are also a Class B base station, a Marine base station, in that vehicle as well. So, we're there to help out the Coast Guard and other Marine-based operations. Depends on where we are.
Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit about deployment. What is the plan for deployment? Do you have to be, called and invited in? How do you, if there's an emergency in California and you're in Missouri, how does that all work?
It depends on how bad they need us. Typically, we get invited in, and then of course we how do I say this? What will happen is we get a call. We come to an agreement as to who covers insurance and everything else. There are two ways that we can get from point A to point B. Number one is to drive there, and of course the agency will have to cover those expenses. And quite often what it will happen is to say we need this, and if we can do that, what we'll do is we'll provide them the technology and the ability to do it. The other way of getting out there is by plane. And so what we'll do is we basically go to, let's say, Scott Air Force Base or wherever they've got the C-130 coming in, or whatever the other aircraft is. And basically we've already got a load list. So the loadmaster has the loadmaster knows exactly what our weights are, what we have on board, everything. So that way, the Air Force is happy or the National Guard is happy when they fly us out. And then, of course, we go there, go to the location, drive off. We can use JP6 fuel if we had to, or we can load up on diesel. And we also have plenty of extra fuel cans so that we can have that 7-day durability. What will happen is we get the phone call. Basically, the three people that go are here in St. Louis with me right now. We've got one person in Texas that in a pinch, he can come out. And then we got a person in Wyoming that is available too as one of the alternates. And basically we'll do the alert, and typically we can be rolling within an hour or so, except if we're, let's say, getting ready for a show and we've got things stripped out. It just means we've got to reload the van out with something different. In other words, whatever is needed for the specific mission that we're going to be going out on.
Okay. Now, I'm a little curious too. How do they know to call you? Is there some kind of agreement with Homeland Security where they know that this is an option?
Yes, there are several agencies throughout the country know how to get in touch with us. Municipalities know how to get in touch with us that we've worked with before. So it's just a matter of them contacting us. For instance, Flagler County knows that we're available for them if they need us for whatever reason. We still have a good working relationship with them. Several municipalities in Texas know how to get in touch with us if they needed us directly. They know how to get a hold of us when they need us, and if they need to include us in their plan, or if they needed us to come out and play during an exercise, we'll be more than happy to do that. It's just a matter of them contacting us. We're coming up with, a real quick MOU, which is it's just a real simple. It's some pretty simple paperwork to do, depending on the place that we're going.
Now, this is pretty unique. Are there any others that do this? And, there's a lot of these communications vehicles out there, but it's just, an HF radio, VHF radio, UHF radio, and, you may have a few of the other radios for local use thrown in there, but this is like you said, a switchboard. It's allowing all these different things to talk to one another. So is this a one of a kind thing?
Well, it is unique, and I haven't really run into other. The Army does have a vehicle that's similar to this, but it's generally not deployed in a civilian world. But yeah, there aren't a whole lot of municipalities that go into this concept. I don't think a lot of them are 100%. How do I say it? They're not really 100% aware of what can happen for them, and it's not necessarily our services to them, but also we provide a service of helping them determine what would probably be best for them. In other words, instead of a $5 million budget, you're looking at about a $1.2 million budget to a $450,000 budget. That's significant compared to some of these big these great big huge $250,000 RVs that have been converted as a mobile command post, and so you're looking at about $2 to $3 million versus 1.2 million. So it's a significant savings, and also you can be on the road a lot quicker with this vehicle than you could with a lot of these other systems that would require loadouts, everything else that would be involved in getting these bigger systems out and about. Plus, we don't need how do I say it? We don't have like the day rooms or the meeting rooms and so on. That's something that you can set up on your own. So it kind of makes it nice because you could easily set up in a school where an event is happening, or you can set up in one of the mobile tents that the Army has or the National Guard has available to them, or portable shelters. This makes for some really unique flexibility and gives you the ability to go out and do things that most people probably wouldn't have even thought. Having the platform that we have, and having the versatility that we have, and having the radios and the technology on board, which is a new technology. The idea of being able to, hook up just about anybody's radio to the key to this is the EmComm-1 PG3. And by the way, they're coming out with a VE PG4 soon too. And what this is that's the interface that allows us to connect the radio, the controls for like changing channels, the microphone, the speaker, and so on. And what that does is it converts it to an IP address, which is then handled through a gateway, which allows us to route that radio or a series of radios to, let's say, a specific IP-based phone or a computer terminal. Or whatever. That makes it nice because then all I have to do is carry along 10 IP-based phones. We can remote all these radios and basic communications to a more convenient location, and it doesn't cost the agency or whoever an arm and a leg to get these other machines out. Wow,
that's some pretty powerful stuff. I'm really intrigued by the possibilities here on this. So maybe some people out there listening have some questions to ask about this. So we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to take your phone calls at 812-650-9556, or you can tweet us. It's at Ham Talk Live on Twitter, so we'll check that out. And I'll be back with Emmett right after this word from ICOM America right here on Ham Talk Live. Create your own band opening. ICOM's newest SDR transceiver, the IC9700, is coming soon. This radio is bringing direct sampling to the UHF-VHF weak signal world. The IC9700 all-mode transceiver is loaded with innovative features such as dedicated amateur satellite operation, color touchscreen, D-Star capability built right in, RF direct sampling on the 2-meter and 70-centimeter bands, dual independent receivers capable of full duplex operation as well as dual watch, and 100 watts max power on 2 meters, 75 watts max on 70 centimeters, and 10 watts max on 1.2 gigahertz. Pack your bags because the Dayton Hamvention is coming up. From May 17th to 19th at the Greene County Fairgrounds and Expo Center, you can see the latest and greatest ICOM gear and meet hams from all over the world. Visit www.icomamerica.com/amateur for more information on ICOM radios.
Nominations are now open for the Amateur Radio Newsline Bill Pasternak WA6ITF Young Ham of the Year Award. I'm Don Wilbanks, AE5DW. Since 1986, we've had the honor of celebrating the accomplishments of youth in ham radio, and we want to know about your exceptional young ham. You'll find the rules and a nominating form by clicking the YHOTY tab on arnewsline.org. Fill it out, send it in, and we'll see you and an amazing young ham at the Huntsville, Alabama Ham Fest in August. Thanks, and 73 from Amateur Radio Newsline.
Ham Talk Live with Neil Rapp.
Ham Talk Live's on the air every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, right here at hamtalklive.com. Be sure to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And thanks to ICOM for their support of the show. And look forward to seeing them over at the Hamvention coming up soon. So it's getting to be about that time. Now it's time for your calls. So if you have a question for Emmett, give us a call. It's 812-650-9556. Again, 812-650-9556, or you can tweet us. It's at Ham Talk Live on Twitter. If you're on Spreaker, you can type in the chat thing there too. We can look at the comments there. But you have to have an account and all that stuff. So the easiest thing to do is give us a call at 812-650-9556. So we're back with Emmett here, and let's talk a little bit about what's going on with the van when it's not deployed. Obviously, there's, like ham radio, it's not a 24/7 emergency. And so we've got all these other things going on when it's not an emergency. So what's going on with the van when it's not an emergency?
Well, typically we go to ham fests. We do like to go every time, for instance, like Orlando, Dayton, HamComm down in Dallas, Huntsville, and so on, to basically show off its capabilities, and also set it up as an event station in a couple places basically to obviously show its capabilities, and also to pull in some younger hams, which we really enjoy doing, is pulling them into the to the EmComm side, because it gives them something to look at. We also are constantly updating, changing, programming EmComm-1 to adjust for the newer, whatever the new protocols are, the new equipment. We partner with Harris in Motorola, ICOM all together. So quite often we'll be changing out some of our equipment that is, let's say, becoming aged and replacing it with something newer. That way we can obviously be not necessarily a show platform, but a demonstration platform of what you can do when you have mobile or transportable interoperability, which over several incidences we've discovered it turns out to work out a little bit better than fixed base, because we're able to take that interoperability and that capability and literally work with the plug and play radios, which everyone knows interoperability is important. Plus, EmComm-1 scalable. So we're training a lot. We're working with new ideas, adding new things, coming up with better demonstrations. A lot of times on going to Hamfest and doing some other things, we quite often treat it as if it was a mission in itself. So the exercise is getting things up and running and functional in a reasonable amount of time. And quite often, the thing with EmComm-1 is that it's set up to where quite often while we're driving, we're on the air. We can work. And one of the things that we're starting to do now is on the amateur side, we'll typically have a 7100 up and running as we're driving and, try and make contacts. And we've got some new QSL cards just for EmComm-1, which, by the way, EmComm-1 does have a club license, and that's Whiskey Echo 1, Charlie Oscar Mike. That's WE1 COM, and that's our the club call sign, and it's also the call sign that we use on the amateur side to make contacts or if we're doing contests or whatever. And what that does is it gives us the ability to exercise, which you can go to any fire department that's worth its salt. They're always working. They're always practicing. They're always exercising. So even though we're not at an emergency, for instance, this weekend, I plan on taking EmComm-1 out to a field, setting up and playing with our new VHF, UHF quad beam antennas to see what we can do. The idea being is just, showing how it works, coming up with a couple of videos for how to set the antennas up, but we're still exercising things out of the van. The van itself is also a mobile RF lab. We generally carry all the equipment that we need to repair, do minor and sometimes even certain major repairs on radios. So there's a lot to it. So that's sometimes why we have this little bit of an overlap when we're in our 24-hour period, where one person will probably be fixing things like, let's say a police officer, one of his antennas just got all squirrely, and we typically have the equipment to where we can fix a couple things for him and get him back on the road again. Or even if it means just charging his radio or his APX radio, we're all there for that.
And so my next question is, how in the world do you cram all that stuff in a van?
It's amazing. Yeah, the whole thing is efficiency, and it's one of those things where if you've ever been in it, you can see we've got all the radios literally mounted up high. And because we are not looking at having a bunch of operators in the van itself, using the VPGE3 by ICOM, that is the thing that makes everything work. In other words, allows us to the VPGE3 and the gateway allows us to do that digital footprint, so that we can route everything where it's supposed to go and to whom it's supposed to go to. But that in itself is a lot of work, and it's everyone is trying to learn everybody else's job, so that way when we go out we can fill in if we have to.
Now, speaking of if you have a chance to see it, what are some upcoming opportunities that you can have a chance to see this thing?
The soonest one will be Dayton, where we'll be part of the emergency services wing, or whatever you might want to call it. We're going to be right there by Building 2, I think it is, with all the other emergency vehicles. We'll be set up there with a canopy, and there'll be one or two of us there at any given time showing off things and taking people on tours. The next one will be, I think it'll be HamComm, which will be down in Plano, Texas. We'll be setting up there. It's a really nice venue. We really like it. And then after that, the one after that would be Huntsville. There might be a couple things in between, but I'm not really sure what they are. Rochelle generally keeps that schedule up for me, and if there's anything goes on in between point A and point B, we'll probably be at an emergency. As a matter of fact, one of the things we are doing this actually starting tomorrow is we're going to be going around to a couple areas and just checking, to see what the water levels are and so on. We'll deploy our drones, take a look at what's going on over the hill. Is it something that we need to report, so on and so forth. So one thing that's happened is our background, where we grew up, my wife and I, was in Nebraska, and places like Blair and Bellevue and some of these, Fremont, are all underwater. Not completely underwater, but heck, even Sac got soaked. That was something else. I saw a couple flood scenes of what was going on at the Strategic Air Command, or actually, it's not the SAC anymore. I forgot what it's called. But that's amazing. And of course, when that floods, we know that it's basically coming down here. And so we've got the Mississippi River, the Missouri River, and the Merrimack, and they all dump into the Mississippi. And so we're looking at flooding on the Missouri side, the Missouri River. We've already had some flooding in the Merrimack, and we definitely know that the water levels are going up on the Mississippi. So it's a matter of being vigilant and watching. And we have a little bit of flexibility in the sense that we can drive to an area, and then our range is extended when we deploy the drones. And that's a whole nother discussion at another time. But it's amazing the things we can do with drones. And so we can do some real quick surveillance, reconnoiters, go out and do a recce on, this roadway area. Let's look at the dam. What do the locks look like? That kind of thing. And then we can report back to whatever agency needs us to give them that information.
812-650-9556 is the phone number if you're listening to us live on Thursday night. If you're listening on WTWW or on the podcast version of the show, you won't be able to reach us because it's Thursday night right now, talking to Emmett, W0QH with EmComm-1. So those are some opportunities for people to see it. Now, during the break, we were talking a little bit about, hams may come in and look, and so, okay, well, there's this ham rig and that ham rig, and then there's all this other stuff. But the skills of hams is really what makes all of this work. You got to know all these different bands and modes and all this kind of thing. And so it really rolls over from the ham side over into the EmComm side.
Yes, it does. The one thing that EmComm-1 is set up to do is we can talk to everything, both analog and digital. And on the amateur side, our familiarity with technology is definitely a good lead-in to being there to be helpful. The other part is all the other FEMA requirements, where the ICS and being part of ARES and so on. As what we do with EmComm-1 is not related to ARES. We do work with ARES, but we are not we're not working in an amateur capacity. We're working as a land mobile, as emergency services, working with the individual municipalities. But we do interface with hams, so consequently we do have ham radios on board. The scale of cost is considerably different. For instance, our gateway system, some groups would like to have that system, which is great. But when we start talking with the prices, they all run away. And then we talk to some agency representatives, and they start seeing what the price is and what it can do, and they're looking at it as a very economical and very it's a very reasonable thing to do. So it's an interesting turn. On the amateur side, though, the one thing that you've got a lot of people out there that have gotten all the way up to their extra class, and they don't think that there's anything else for them to do. My recommendation is to start looking and getting your GMROL, the General Mobile Radio Operator's License, which allows which is a lot more technical. You can actually work with, on a commercial level, working on radios and so on and so forth. It's a new level of technical prowess that would be very useful in the field. And I personally think that it would be a good, next step, you might say. In other words, look at your amateur, look at your hobby as a gateway to something a little bit more technical and at times a little bit more. You get a little bit more out of it because you're actually in there working on things, and you can.
Yeah, I used to give those exams, and they use extra class hams as examiners for that, much like the volunteer exam program on the ham side of things. They can administer those as well. So there's some opportunities there to get that. I'm amazed at how much stuff you've got inside of this thing. You've got the drones, you got food, you got, enough, water and gas, and then, and then you've got a repair shop, and it's just amazing that you can get it all in that one van, and you don't have to have like a CDL to drive the thing.
No, and the nice thing about that it's a Mercedes Sprinter, which is really nice because I get 26 miles to the gallon, and that's with the 20 kilowatt generator that we're towing. We have a 30-gallon tank. We've got a 30-gallon plus a 16-gallon tank in the generator, plus we carry another 20 gallons if we need it. So literally we carry a lot, but also on the other side, it's all efficiency of where everything goes, how things get set up. Sometimes when you go in and look at the van, it might look crowded and cluttered, but everything has a place. And typically, we try to load it out the same way every time. The radios are up and out of the way. As a matter of fact, one thing you can look at is go out on the internet, look up EmComm-1, and there's a video where Ray and Mike Lee take you on a tour of EmComm-1 and explain a lot of the resources that go into making it work and a lot of the key things that are in there. Now, I will tell you that we've added some things on the air side. We also have an ADS receiver unit in there, so we're able to monitor air traffic in the area that we're in. We're also able to we've got a couple gateways set up, or let's just say hotspots. So that gives us the flexibility of, if we don't want to use a whole radio system, we can use the hotspot. For instance, let's say on DMR, or let's say D-Star, or let's say P25. We can set up a gateway and we can link it from point A to point B, or bring in someone from the outside, as long as we have an internet connection, which quite often we will. One exciting thing is, one of the things we were able to do is in one situation, we were able to, everything was operational, but there was someone in Washington, D.C. that needed to listen in and monitor. We were able to forward, we gave him an access code, and we were able to forward that information to an IP-based phone, and he was able to listen to what he wanted to listen to. And then when we were done, we disconnected the link, and we're on our way again.
Well, that's some pretty cool stuff, and hope some people will have a chance to check that out at Hamvention and Huntsville and HamCon and wherever else you end up. And John Piper's listening to us tonight, so hi, John, and thanks for
hey, John.
For tuning in to us here tonight. So we're going to wrap things up here, but any last minute items here we've missed before we take off?
No, I think we covered it quite well. I mean, there's a lot to the van. There's a lot to the way things are set up. During Dayton, we are going to be giving possibly two different forums on one, how to get on the air for emergency communications. And then the other one will be EmComm-1, as in how do we deploy it? What's in there? How does it all look? You get to see a little bit more, the nuts and bolts, the nitty gritty, how everything's hooked up as far as what gets connected to what, the gazindas and the gazoutas. So that'll be kind of fun, and we look forward to seeing people. Make sure you drop by and say hi. Rochelle won't be at Dayton, but she'll be probably at the rest of the ham fests for the rest of the year. And I do want to give out a shout to our good friends at Tower Electronics for sponsoring Ham Talk Live. And Scott and his wonderful, wonderful wife. They're working all the time, and just for them to do something like this is really, really nice.
Yeah, sure is. And I know Jill saw a while ago said she had a big, long drive today, but she's made it to Texas and be ready for Belton, Texas this weekend. So shout out to them, and thanks for sponsoring the show and being out there on the road. And Emmett, thank you for being out there on the road, taking this thing around and demonstrating what can happen when you put all this digital and analog together and make it all talk to each other, and some of the possibilities and maybe even some career opportunities for some hams out there.
Oh, most definitely. Like I said, the biggest thing is it seems complicated, but when you start looking at each individual function, it starts to fit a little bit more logically. But definitely come by, say hi. Let's see, it'll be myself and possibly one other person out at the EmComm-1. We'll be having our booth will be right next to ICOM, just like last year, and Bob Heil is going to have his booth next to us as well as Ham Nation. And then the event station is going to be a little bit farther back, back towards where W5KUB is. So that's going to be kind of fun, and we're looking forward to having a good time there. We really enjoy that venue. They've done a great job of making it a better ham fest than it's ever been. I mean, honestly, we all like Terra Arena to an extent, but man, I'll tell you what, some of the things that happened around that place, I'm very glad they moved it.
Yeah. So it had its character, but it needed some help. So, okay. Well, we're getting ready to finish up here, but John threw in a question here at the last minute, so I think this is a quick one. So let's do this. He wants to know where he can see pictures of the Sprinter van. It says it looks like a cool setup, and he wants to know can you do a show from the van? We've done it. We've done it a couple times. Well, we haven't done Ham Talk Live from the van. Well, the thing is you don't have a camera. Yeah, we don't need a camera. Yes, actually we could, because all I need is an internet connection, and we could do the show from the van if we needed to. Sure, I guess, but yeah, we can do shows from the van, the Sprinter van. You can look at actually look up the video that's on YouTube. That's EmComm-1, ICOM EmComm-1. And that's a good tour of walking through and seeing it. And like I said, that Sprinter is so nice. It's a turbo diesel. It's I get literally 20. Well, actually, I get anywhere between 20 and 26 miles to the gallon. With the tank that I have about a 600 mile range. But typically I don't run that full length. I'll generally stop because I have to go to the bathroom or something like that. But what makes it nice is that we can rotate really easily, and fuel economy is there. We are diesel. Everything is diesel on that van. So we don't have to worry about draining all the fuel if we have to go on the air. Now, we finally found something that's not on the van. What's that? The bathroom. Well, we do. The bathroom is not on the. Well, okay, all right, okay.
It's one of those 5-gallon things, so close. Typically we just to stretch our legs and for safety purposes, we'll pull off, do the rest area, go to do our duty, and then get back on and go again.
Yeah, that sounds like a much better plan. Well, Emmett, thank you so much for coming on the show. Appreciate it, and look forward to seeing you here in about 6 weeks or so. And give our best to Rochelle, and we'll be praying for a speedy recovery for her.
Thank you very much. Thanks again, Neil. It's been good talking to you.
All right. Well, that is a wrap for this week's edition of Ham Talk Live. Thanks to my guest, Emmett Hohensee, W0QH, from St. Louis, and everybody out there in cyberspace for listening and writing in tonight, and invite you all back next Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Lee Height, Case 8 CLI, Jocelyn Brode, KD8VRX, and Melinda Zimper, all from the National Voice of America Museum of Broadcasting, will be here to talk about the 75th anniversary of the Voice of America Bethany Relay Station, and will also be announcing the special Hamvention hours and a special bonus. The mystery is out there. There's a special bonus that's going to be available during Hamvention weekend. So we'll be announcing that next week on the show. And for a list of all of our upcoming guests, just go to hamtalklive.com. And if you like Ham Talk Live, please leave us a review on iTunes or wherever you listen. That helps others find us faster. So for now, this is Neil Rapp, WB9VPG, saying 7375, and may the good DX be yours.